Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here to give you this week's reading recommendations for the new comic book releases this week. So again, a couple weeks ago we had a massive number of titles and there was so much to read. This week, I think my stack was almost as big, even though there were like maybe 60% of the titles.
Yeah,
I don't think it even made 2/3.
I honestly think I got more this week than I did that week, and that's saying something.
And we dove in right away, and there's so many good picks this week. I loved some Marvel stuff. I loved some DC stuff. None of it made it to the table today.
I know, and a lot of it easily could, but
yeah, definitely. A number of titles that just keep on doing as well as they have been doing and have made the picks before. But we've got, we don't have a title that's under a number 2, but we've got a couple number 1s. So let's start with your number 1.
So don't worry, the other car robot thing that you're all excited for is here. We'll get to that. But my pick is Petrolhead number 1, new title from Image. So basically, the gist of this one is it's the future. Everything's bad. Humanity lives in these, a couple domed cities, just kind of more or less waiting for the end at this point. And one of the ways they're entertained is they've got these robots called Petrolheads that they have do these big races. It's all kind of controlled by the city government. Oh, this one is pulling well with this group, so we want them to win. Or this one isn't. Make sure they hit a landmine. It's very much
Death Race 2000 with robots.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And our story primarily follows all these robots. They'll get nicknames to kind of sell their brand. Our lead, no one really likes him, so they never bothered giving him a name. So he's literally just Petrolhead. It's basically if you just had someone call him Guy because you just see a guy walking down the street, and he's great. He's got that kind of old. I'm too old for this. I'm done with everyone's garbage. He's just trying to live his best life out and kind of the slums, because we get a bit of a flash forward where Petrolheads have kind of been relegated to to the back of society. They're just they're people kind of realize oh, maybe having a bunch of robots that literally run on oil inside our closed dome cities was a bad idea. So they've kind of just become they're not allowed in big portions of the city. They don't have they can't do a lot of things that other humans and robots can do. And so he's just trying to live his best life out there, and ends up getting entangled in. There's some people who are realize hey, maybe we can actually try and make things better instead of trying to just distract the masses with races and stuff. And turns out the powers that be don't really care for that. Also, speaking of powers that be, new issue of Gods is out.
Yes.
But so it's these different groups kind of coming together, and now they're. I'm trying to think of how do I put it. In typical me fashion, I picked a title where it ends with "Nothing's going well for anyone." I'll put it that way. But yeah, I don't know. The art is gorgeous. Pie Park, because I don't know, drawing cars and doing good vehicle stuff in comics is super difficult. Not a lot of artists can do it. The races, there's actually not a whole lot in here. They're gorgeous. They're everything about them, just the way the vehicles move and how they crash into things is just, it's gorgeous. I love it.
So clarifying question. Do the robots drive the vehicles?
Yes.
Okay, so they are separate entities, the vehicle and the robot. Okay.
Yep, yeah. And I don't know, there's definitely some more backstory to Petrolhead, just kind of how, because it seems he's always been kind of cantankerous, but just life has kind of beat down on him, so there's a bit more to that, I'm sure. I wouldn't necessarily call him the best guy out there. He's got there's this moment where you think he's gonna be oh, he's gonna be this real stand-up dude, and she's no, he's not.
Cantankerous robots are great.
Oh, they're
story, aren't they? Gotta love them.
He's also got a little pet robot bird.
Oh,
that's just hey man, this cat keeps trying to eat me. Can you do something about that? But it's really good. I'm super excited to see where it goes from here. I don't know, if you love robots and cars, which clearly you do, we'll get to that, you'll definitely enjoy this too.
Very cool. It was on my list, and then I picked up Hickman's Gods, and that took way too long to read. I ran out of time. Well, fantastic. I also, and let's see, that's Image. I also went with a number one, but this is Boom, and it's Boom Box, which means that it's kind of all age appropriate.
Yeah, I believe so.
This is Zawa number one, and I'm not familiar with the creator because it's creator across the board here. Michael Dialinus, I believe, is how you pronounce it. It's my best attempt.
Yeah, if you are familiar with another Boom title, Wind, he was the artist on that. James Tinian wrote it. They've had a couple different volumes of that out. Yeah,
that was a very charming book. It was very cute. Cute's maybe not the right word, but it was...
there's parts that are cute. There's other parts that are like, oh no.
So this is written, illustrated, colored, and lettered by the creator. So if you've been in the store, if you've been checking out previews, you're probably familiar with the cover art because they were splashing this everywhere. I was really surprised by how much they were pushing this one, but I think some of that's because Diamond is basically just hanging onto the cliff with Boom right now at this point. Being kind of their last big seller that they've got exclusively. But I was intrigued because the art style is super cool. And I had no idea what the story was going to be about. So yeah, another dystopian kind of world where...
But very, very different from the... Like, I love... Because you think dystopia, you think like, oh, it's all gonna be the same thing, but like, it's weird how many flavors of dystopia there are.
Yeah, because this one opens with a big party, right? They're celebrating this mayor who's doing this really good job of bringing back prosperity, or seemingly.
Yeah, there's a lot of air quotes around like doing a good job.
So we've got this family who it's a brother and sister and a mom. The dad has passed away, and the dad used to work with the governor, and so there's this big party to celebrate. The governor has kind of helped rebuild this society and whatever, so everybody's off celebrating. But food has a very weird dynamic in here. It seems as though they're getting pre-packaged. It's got a Soylent Green kind of vibe.
A little bit, yeah.
Because everybody's getting this pre-packaged food or whatever.
Yeah, they're like coming out of like vending machines and stuff.
Yeah. And so there's this family owns a bakery or something?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how they're able to operate.
Well, we kind of see how they're able to operate because...
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess how they're allowed to operate. But so anyway, the kids break into this... facility that is overseen by the mayor, and they're looking for food stuff to be able to make real food. And there's this legend of a monster.
I think it's called like the Gobblegeist or something.
Yeah, the Gobblegeist. Yeah. Yes. And then also some protector of the mountain that they're celebrating and whatever. And it's very complicated to be. Well, you're not getting enough of the information to understand how all the dots are going to connect.
It's doing a good job of like drip feeding, like giving you enough information to kind of like for more or less understand what's happening, but like you don't get like the full picture just yet. You can kind of start to put it together.
I don't like it when they spoon feed us all of the mythos around this world that they're building. It's nice to get that kind of drip and come up, your understanding grows as the story goes on. And that is definitely the vibe that I'm getting from this is that we're just getting the very, very minimal amount of information to be able to introduce this character that shows up on the cover and again, aesthetically, this is one of the most stunning books that's come out.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I don't think we talked a lot about beforehand, but like the coloring in particular, it's just like, it just really pops. Like,
yeah, it's... You gotta check it out. You gotta come in, flip through this book, check it out. It is super cool looking. I'm very excited. Boom has been just cranking out some really good stuff.
The last couple of years in particular, there's just been like across the board, like good title after good title.
Yep. I'm very interested to see where this goes. And Michael Dialinus, we're gonna go with for right now. Seems to be an up and comer in the industry as well. I love it when the pencilers can kind of make the transition to being a writer and actually do a great job of it too. And this one was fun.
Hey, that's a good segue.
Yes, it is.
To Transformers #2.
Yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson is just...
I don't even know where to start. Like, we were talking before about how so every time you got a like new iteration of like an existing property, obviously you've got like kind of establish like grand rules, like introduce these characters in like a way that like feels like like you're not alienating past fans, but like everyone coming in can be like, oh, I've got like a grasp on like who they are, their connection to this character, that character, like who just like everything about them. And I honestly don't know, we're only 2 issues in, but still I don't know that they've ever been doing a good job as they have on this title right now.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel cliche. It doesn't feel like we're just retelling stories.
Or like when there are like, or where like when there are like kind of like cliches, they're like done just like the perfect fashion of just like, oh, because you'll have like, because like Optimus, he can be kind of like the stoic leader. You've got Cliffjumper, who's kind of like the younger rambunctious character, like, but they're done in ways that like feel unique and like, oh, they don't just feel like a cliche. They feel like this is just an actual person, like on the page.
Yes. Like, they're very organic,
which is funny,
right? Yeah, because that is a theme in here about how creeped out they are by all the organic material that's surrounding them, which is awesome. That's such a cool take. I think Daniel Warren Johnson, it seems as though he has read and consumed a lot of Transformers stuff, and he's putting it all in the mixer and in making awesome chocolate chip cookies out of it or something. Like, this is greater than the sum of its parts, mostly because of the care that he's taking in telling the story and in building the characters. I mean, it'd be really easy to just throw a ton of Transformers on the page and wow people and do something big and grandiose right off the bat. We can see the structure of how they're going to kind of be slowly introducing characters so that each one of them can have their persona built carefully. And it's fantastic. Optimus Prime starts this issue with just such... He's going to be the soul of this book, which is that's what he has to be. It is executed so perfectly. And then Cliffjumper comes in.
Cliffjumper's great. I can't remember the last time I've seen Starscream in something where he's just like this much of just like a garbage person. Like, he's just like taking so much delight in like all the terror he's causing. Like,
because he's a garbage Transformer next to a whole bunch of garbage Transformers, because the Decepticons do some terrible things in this book.
There's a reason they keep calling the people squishies in this.
And then at the end we get an not like a cute I didn't realize. That's terrible.
Johnson's really good at those kind of like last page, like, oh, you thought this was sad before? Context makes it even sadder.
And the facial expressions of the Transformers are so great.
And that's the thing, because like some
they're so emotive.
And because that's the thing, because like half them, like Optimus or like Soundwave, like they got like, they don't really have eyes. They've got the faceplate. So what he can do with body language in particular, like there's several shots where Optimus, like, you can just like, from the way he's like, his posture, it's just like you can tell how much he's like trying to like deal with everything that's going on around him.
I am so impressed. You know, I was excited. I was excited that this was happening, mostly for nostalgia. We both are big Transformers guys, jumping in on different points in the Transformers history, and we're both just over the moon about how well this is being handled. I think for anybody who loves great storytelling, this is a highly recommended book. If you have any affinity for Transformers at all and you're not picking up this book, you are making a huge mistake. But it's just great all the way around. You don't have to be a Transformers fan to like this. Also, I don't know if you know this, but Skybound's got G.I. Joe.
Yeah, they've got, I think we may have mentioned this with, I think Void Rivals might have also showed up last issue too, but like, at the end it's got like, they've been doing like these little previews of their next upcoming title. So there's a preview for the Duke comic coming up, I believe, next month.
Yes.
So, and that looks just gorgeous too.
Yeah, well, it's Duke and Cobra Commander. I can't remember. One's December, one's January.
December is Duke, January is Cobra. You can get signed up for both right now.
Yeah. Oh, so excited. So excited. And, we should say too, this is not just a nostalgia trip. Mm-hmm. This is definitely updated.
Oh, yeah.
So,
because I can say, I don't know, I'm maybe the bigger Transformer fan here.
Oh, yeah. I
don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Transformer stuff. I don't care for it. I will be very upfront about this. This comic right here, easily top 5 versions of Transformers.
It's so
not
good
even.
So far. And it's 2 issues in.
It's 2 issues in.
Yeah, it's so good. All right, well, we've gushed and gushed and gushed. Let's gush one more time because I want to talk about World Tree because the volume 1 of the graphic novel has come out. And this is, every once in a while, you get a book that is unconnected to anything else. It's just a totally new creation, and it just blows your mind. Mm-hmm. And there have been, Saga is one of those. Something is Killing the Children has been one of those recently. Mm-hmm. This is so good.
Of all the different horror stuff that James Tynion's been putting out the last couple of years, and really over his career, this is easily one of probably my favorites, just because I don't know, there's this very creeping sense of just maybe there is nothing they can do about this. It's walking that fine line of just ultimate dread, but I don't know, maybe we can do it, guys. Maybe we might not be able to save everything, but we can save something kind of thing, which I really enjoy.
Well, and so the storytelling is magnificent. Mm-hmm. The art matches it so well. It's just slight, and we've talked about this when we picked some of the issues, but it's just off kilter enough to make everything slightly uncomfortable.
There's so many panels where it's just something is happening in the foreground, but you'll just see something moving in the back. It's one of those things I love in a lot of horror movies where it's just characters not being aware of something in their surroundings. That's just but you, the viewer, are, and oh, this can't go well.
Well, and in some of those panels, I didn't notice it right. I read the dialogue and I was like, okay, cool. And then, often I'll do kind of just a glance at the page as a whole to make sure that I didn't miss any details before I turn. And there's a gal with creepy bangs hanging out in the background, and it's disturbing. And we talked about the color in Zawa. The colors in this, same. It's this weird kind of muted palette.
And but it'll shift depending, because there's a lot of reality perception stuff, and when it gets weird, it gets real weird.
Yeah, and it all just works. This is a must read. This is so good, and especially if you're looking for something that's not superheroes, that's not fantasy. It's got a sci-fi kind of element into it, in that the internet plays a really big part.
But it's also just you could easily in some way slot it out for oh, they're old ones from Lovecraft are involved somehow, because there's they only just kind of barely touch on there's some real bad stuff out there
and that seems to definitely be the way that it's going, but from an outside observer you could definitely just think that there's a whole bunch of psychopaths who are kind of sharing this weird fever dream or something. Yeah, it's really unsettling in the best ways possible. So anyway, so much good stuff to read. So much of it is not capes and tights.
But what there is for that too is also really good.
Oh my god! So Birds of Prey continues
X-Men
to be one
Red.
of my absolute favorites. I didn't even make it to X-Men Red. I didn't make it to Spider-Man. There's so much good stuff.
There's so much good stuff this week.
Yeah. Oh, there was the new Punisher. That was
it was good.
It's definitely in the vein of Punisher. It's an updated version, new character. Similar kind of motivations.
I'm a sucker for railguns. So
it did have a very cool railgun moment in it. And, Hyde is just a great character who doesn't get enough. So it's what if the Hulk were evil?
Yeah.
Or more?
kind of.
I don't know. Yeah. So anyway. But we'll be back next week with even more picks. Don't miss out on this week. There's so much good stuff. Stop on into the store. Follow, subscribe. If you can't make it into the store, don't forget that we've got the app and the website so that you won't miss out on anything if you act quickly. So, yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, Fritz. Really appreciate it as always. Yeah. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. My my brain feels like it's been overloaded.
I know, like I was like, as I'm like trying to like talk about this, just like I didn't even talk about just like how good the cities look. Like
who's the artist on this?
Pike Park. I don't know that I've seen their stuff on other things, but they also were the colorist and letterer for them.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
just I mean, like how often do you get like cool car stuff like that in comics?
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I also just love that sweet 70s red, white, and blue kind of muscle car vibe. It just looks very awesome.